The diplomatic hall of the Interstellar Council fell into an eerie silence as Ambassador Arya Chen stepped through the crystalline doors. Every species represented in the room, from the towering krill with their chitinous armor to the floating whisper folk who communicated in harmonic frequencies, turned their various sensory organs toward the human. Humans were still a curiosity in galactic society, a species that had clawed its way from a death world, surviving predators that would have decimated most civilizations before they even developed agriculture. Yet here they were, barely 2 generations into space travel, already demanding a seat at the table. Arya moved with the easy confidence of someone who had nothing to prove. Her standard diplomatic attire, a simple gray suit with minimal adornment, stood in stark contrast to the elaborate displays of the other delegates. She had learned early that humans didn't need to peacock. Their reputation preceded them. Ambassador Chen, Counselor Thorix rumbled, his 3 eyes blinking in sequence. "We are honored by your presence. Please take your designated seat." Arya noticed the careful distance the other delegates maintained, fear dressed up as respect. She'd grown accustomed to it. What she hadn't expected was the small, dark shape that darted between the ornate pillars. Vex was a Ravkesh cub, barely 3 months old, but already the size of a large dog. His species were apex predators from Ravkesh Prime, a world where everything evolved teeth, claws, and an insatiable hunger. Adult Ravkesh were formidable members of the Council's military forces, their predatory instincts channeled into protection rather than destruction. But cubs were another matter entirely. The young Ravkesh's scales shimmered with iridescent blues and purples as he stalked between the seats, his 6 eyes fixed on the newcomer with predatory intensity. To the other delegates, Arya must have looked like prey, soft skin, no natural weapons, smaller than most species present. Vex saw opportunity. The cub approached with the awkward confidence of youth, his movements a mixture of curiosity and predatory assessment. He circled Arya's position twice, nostrils flaring as he processed her scent. The human stood perfectly still, watching him with an expression the other delegates couldn't quite read. Then Vex struck. His needle-sharp teeth closed around the fabric of Arya's sleeve with a playful growl. It was a testing bite, not meant to injure but to establish dominance. In Ravkesh culture, this was how cubs learned their place in the hierarchy. The room erupted into chaos. By the void, Counselor Thorix lurched forward, his massive form surprisingly agile. "Someone restrain the cub. The human will be—" But Arya was already moving. Instead of pulling away or crying out in alarm, she tugged back. Hard. The gesture was so unexpected that Vex's eyes widened in shock. Humans weren't supposed to resist. They were soft things, diplomatic things, things that solved problems with words rather than action. Yet here was this strange creature not only resisting but challenging him. Arya's smile was radiant and utterly unafraid. "Oh, you want to play rough?" she said softly, her voice carrying a warmth that seemed incongruous with the situation. She gave another gentle tug and Vex instinctively tugged back. His predatory instincts fully engaged now. The other delegates watched in horror, certain they were about to witness a diplomatic incident of catastrophic proportions. Counselor Zix of the Whisper Folk was already composing 17 different apology messages in harmonic frequencies. But something strange was happening. Vex's aggressive posture was melting away. The cub's eyes, all 6 of them, began to dilate with something that looked suspiciously like delight. His tail, which had been rigid with predatory focus, started to wag in small, uncertain movements. Arya released her sleeve and dropped to one knee, bringing herself to the cub's eye level. "You're a fierce one, aren't you?" she murmured, extending her hand slowly. Not in surrender, but in invitation. Vex sniffed cautiously, then surprised everyone by headbutting her palm with a soft chirp. "Impossible," Counselor Thorix breathed. "The cub he should still be in attack mode. Humans don't have the pheromones to trigger submission responses. They shouldn't be able to—" "We don't need pheromones," Arya said simply, scratching behind Vex's auditory ridges in a way that made the predator cub's scales ripple with pleasure. "Where we come from, we evolved alongside predators too. Wolves, big cats, bears, all of them deadlier than most species ever encounter. And you know what we did?" She looked up at the assembled delegates, and her smile took on a different quality. Not threatening, but absolutely confident. We domesticated them. We turned apex predators into companions, guardians, friends. We learned their language, their body language, their needs. We didn't conquer them. We understood them. Vex was now completely relaxed, rolling onto his back to expose his vulnerable belly scales, the ultimate sign of trust in Ravkesh body language. Arya obliged with gentle scratches that made the cub's hind legs kick in contentment. Your species survived by avoiding predators, Arya continued, addressing the room as she played with Vex. That's smart. That's sensible. But humans? We survived by understanding them, by studying them, by respecting them enough to learn what makes them tick. She stood up, and Vex immediately pressed against her legs, purring, a sound that adult Ravkesh rarely made outside their family units. The cub wasn't trying to hurt me, Arya explained. He was testing, seeing if I was pack or prey, and I showed him that I'm neither. I'm something else entirely. I'm someone who plays back. Counselor Thorix slowly lowered himself back into his seat, his three eyes blinking in a pattern that indicated profound reassessment. Around the room, other delegates were having similar realizations. Humans weren't just survivors from a death world. They were a species that had turned survival into art, predation into partnership, and fear into friendship. Ambassador Veshka of the Ravkesh delegation emerged from the shadows, her adult form towering and formidable, but her eyes were soft as she watched her offspring playing with the human. Ambassador Chen, she said, her voice carrying the growling undertones of her species. I apologize for my cub's behavior, but I think I understand now why the council was right to invite your species. Arya smiled, one hand resting on Vex's head as the cub pressed against her. We're not here to dominate anyone, Ambassador Veshka. We're here to be part of the pack. The diplomatic session that followed was one of the most productive in council history, and throughout it all, Vex remained at Arya's side, a small, scaly reminder that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their tenacity. It was their ability to turn any predator into family.